Good morning and welcome to your practice. Thank you so much for joining me today. We are going to be doing a yin class and we are going to use the wall. So make sure that you set up your mat close to a wall. The other props that you're going to need are a bolster. If you don't have a bolster, grab a stack of towels or blankets that you can create a long shape that you can stack up to support your body. And so today's class is yin inspired, and we're going to focus on 3 poses that will be really helpful if you find that you sit a lot. So if you work at a desk, at a computer, if you find that you are sitting a lot, these 3 poses are going to be really beneficial for opening up the body and maybe relieving some of that stiffness that maybe you feel. So let's begin by finding a comfortable seat, whatever that means for you. Sitting on the ground, you can sit on your props, sit in a chair. I want you to just take a few breaths. Sophia's joining us today. Take a few breaths and just settle in. I want you to feel the length of your spine. I want you to soften your shoulders away from your ears. Close your eyes if that feels comfortable. Take a couple of deep, full breaths. Exhale it out. Allow one breath to flow into the next. Maybe inhaling for a count of 4 or 5, holding for just a moment, and then exhaling out for 5 or 6. So allowing that exhale to be just a little bit longer than the inhale. Breathing in, holding, and then exhaling. And there's really a gentle pause at the end of that exhale too. So we'll breathe in, peak, exhale, and pause. Breathing in, 2, 3, 4. Exhaling, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Take one more on your own. And just notice how that breath feels. Notice without judgment what is happening in the body. Take one more breath. And then you can blink open the eyes if your eyes are closed. And so we're going to start at the wall. Sophia's going to lay down with us apparently. So you're going to lay back. I want you to come pretty close to the wall. And then you're going to lay back. And I want your legs to go straight up the wall. Okay, so I'm a good probably 6 or 8 inches, and you're going to adjust based on what's comfortable for you. So we're lying on our back, legs are up the wall, and I want you to take your right ankle and place it on your left thigh. And then the top foot, you're just going to start to bend it. And what's going to happen is we're going to start to feel a stretch in that right outer hip. So getting into the glutes and kind of into that hip joint a little bit. And so we're just going to allow our head to sit back, and we're just going to breathe into that stretch. So we're breathing into that outer hip. So when we sit a lot, this is an area of the body that tends to get shortened. And when it gets shortened, it tends to pull, it tends to not be very comfortable. And so we're going to just stretch those out. So lying there, we're going to stay here for maybe 2 minutes, stretching that right outer hip. And you can adjust so that you're either a little closer or further away from the wall to get the desired stretch. Remember, when we're doing yin, we're looking for a 6 out of 10. So on a 1 to 10 scale, it's like a 6. We're going to have consistent pressure, but it shouldn't be debilitating. It shouldn't take your breath away. It should be just a very gentle, persistent pressure. That's what we're aiming for. That's where we're going to have the most benefit from our practice. So breathing into that right hip. Let your shoulders be soft. We use the wall so that our body can relax into it. We don't have to support or hold on to our legs. We're using that left foot on the wall to allow us to keep that consistent stretch. And I want you to notice. So yoga is about listening to the body. It's also about noticing what's happening without drawing judgment. So notice how this side feels. Staying here for just a moment longer. See if you can exhale and soften those shoulders. Let them sink into the earth a little bit more. One more breath here. And then to come out of this pose, we'll start by straightening the left leg. And then we'll take the right ankle off and just extend it back up the wall. So we're going to come back to that starting position where our legs are just up the wall. And I want you to pause here and just notice how the body feels. And then to switch sides, we're going to bend the left leg, place the ankle on the thigh. I do want it above the, or higher than the knee, closer to your hip. And then just start to bend the right knee. If you feel pull in the knee, I want you to think about engaging your thigh. Sometimes we talk about flexing the foot. We really want to engage the thigh muscle. Or back out a little bit. Listen to your body. Again, we're looking for a stretch, hopefully in that left outer hip this time. The spine is long, so we're able to really relax the upper body. Getting a nice stretch in the left outer hip this time. We're going to breathe into that. Again, we're going to hold for about 2 minutes. In a live class, I potentially would have you sit with it a little bit longer, so you are welcome to hold the poses longer. But for the purpose of this practice online, we're going to do just 2 minutes. So breathing into that space, soften the shoulders away from the ears. Imagine the shoulders kind of pressing into the floor. Breathing deeply. We're using the wall to give us support so that we can drop deeper into the practice, deeper into the pose. Noticing how it feels, becoming aware of those sensations. What we're doing is we're watching our breath. We're watching our physical body. We're watching any emotions that come up. Maybe something comes up. Just notice that. There's nothing good or bad about it. It just is. And so being able to observe almost like a third person. You don't have any skin in the game. You're just noticing, becoming aware. That's when we're really going to reap those benefits. We're really going to understand ourselves a little deeper. Staying just a few more breaths here. Take one more breath. Again, to come out of this pose, we're going to begin by taking the ankle off the thigh, straightening the legs up the wall. And then just roll your entire body to one side and mindfully press yourself up. We're going to come to a seated position, and we're going to transition into our next pose. So for this next pose, we are going to need our bolster. So grabbing a bolster, apparently I've just got the zoo down with me today. So grabbing the bolster, and we're going to take a gentle twist. So we're going to begin by putting your right hip up against the bolster, and your legs are going to come so that the knees are bent and your right foot comes towards your left thigh. So kind of in a, if you're a cheerleader, like I think it's like harpy position maybe. But we're kind of sitting up, and then we're going to rotate toward the bolster. Hands find either side, and you're just going to lower yourself down onto that bolster. If one ear, maybe it's your right ear, comes to the bolster. You can also drop the forehead to keep a neutral spine, and maybe you might want a towel or a blanket. Keep the head in a neutral position. So I invite you to try that, grabbing a blanket. And then it gives your forehead something to rest on so that your neck can be in a neutral position. And so with our rotation, what we're doing is we've opened up kind of the glute. Now we're moving a little bit higher into the hip and into the side body. And so we're getting into a few more of those muscles that maybe don't get a lot of space or movement when we are sitting at a desk all day or when we are sitting for long periods of time. Because really, those are the patterns that are creating stiffness in our bodies. It's the habits that we have when we are sitting and not moving in full range of motion that create the neural pathways in the body that become the memory of what our body is expected to do. We're trying to change that and open up those spaces through our yin practice and through the connective tissue. So hanging out in that rotation, deep, full breaths, and just notice where you are feeling those sensations. Again, the sensation should be a gentle, persistent pressure. So we're looking for, a 6 out of a 10. Just breathing into that space. Maybe you feel it more in the hip, maybe you feel it more in the side body. Just notice there's no right or wrong. Just notice where you feel it. Where you feel it is where you need to have a little more space. That's where we're finding restriction, that pull, that gentle tug. That's the restriction that we're working to unwind. So we're going to take this twist. We're going to breathe into that space. And then we're going to take a rebound after this twist so that our body can absorb that movement, can kind of find that neutral position. We'll take a deep breath. Take one more deep, full breath here. And then slowly press yourself up. We're going to clear the props off of our mat. And I want you to take a rebound. So a Shavasana, basic corpse pose. So that's lying on your back, legs wide, arms out to the side. And we're just going to stay here for about a minute. And the reason that we take the rebound is so that our body and the connective tissue can rebound. So we've taken the connective tissue, the fascia in the body, and we've stretched it. We're trying to reorganize it and remold it. And so we've done that. We've pulled it. And now we want to come back into a rebound so that it can then come back to a neutral position. So it starts off, think about a hairband. Maybe it starts off kind of shortened. We want it to be a little bit longer. So we're going to stretch it a little bit more than that. So then it can kind of relax into that space. So it starts off shortened. We're going to stretch it a little bit, and then it's going to rebound and come back to a new normal that's longer and more relaxed than it was previously. I'll take one more deep, full breath here. Feel your whole body sink into the floor. And then roll to one side, gently press into the floor to come up, and we'll transition to the opposite side. So bring your props back on your mat. Grab your bolster, grab your blanket if you would like it. And this time the left hip is going to come up to the bolster. So the left hip is going to come up. We're going to rotate so that our knees are bent. The left foot reaches toward the right thigh. Then you're going to rotate to the left and then lower down onto that bolster. Make sure that you are encouraging yourself to find what's comfortable on this side. You have permission for the right side and the left side to look and feel different. That's okay. Our bodies are not completely symmetrical. And so The right side of the body is going to have a different need than the left side of the body. You may notice that one side is significantly tighter than the other. And what that might mean is that your body sits in a certain position at your desk where you're favoring or rotating your body a little bit. So we do both sides always so that we can find that balance and that neutrality in the body. So take a couple of breaths, settle in, make sure you're adjusting props as you need. Again, we're listening to your body today. It might be different from tomorrow. It might be different from next week. Take a deep breath and settle in. Notice, I notice that this is happening in the body. It's not good or bad. It just is. Just notice, become aware. And then listen, what is your body asking of you? Is it asking for a little more or a little less in the rotation? Is it asking for a deep, full breath to really feel that expansion? Settle into this rotation, maybe imagining that rotation moving up the spine, vertebrae by vertebrae. Give yourself permission to settle in and feel. Soften any place in the body that doesn't need to be engaged. Take one more deep, full breath here. And then again, you're slowly going to bring yourself back up, clear the mat, and take a rebound. So set the props off to the side. We're going to come to Shavasana, lying on our back, allowing yourself to come back into a neutral position where gravity presses on the body presses into the earth. And take a few breaths here. Notice how the body feels. Notice the way that the hips press into the floor. Imagine you can feel the length of your legs. Feel into the ribs and the shoulders. Allow the back of the neck to be a little bit longer. Take one more breath here. And then slowly bringing yourself up. And we'll take one final yin posture. We are going to keep that bolster to the middle of the mat. And then it is your choice how you would like to prop your legs. So what I would like you to do, what I would invite you to try is bringing the bottoms of the feet together. You can choose how close or how far they are from your body, whatever would feel comfortable. And then you choose how your legs are going to be supported. I would encourage you to support them so that the joints are not hanging in space. So what that could look like is a blanket wedged underneath. It could look like a blanket opened up so that it goes over the feet and under the legs. It could look like blocks underneath the legs or some variation of that. But I encourage you to find a way to support the legs as the knees widen. And then sitting in front of that bolster, I invite you to just slowly lean back and find a position that feels good, where it opens up the front side of the body. Maybe you would feel better with a pillow underneath your head for a little bit of support, or something just under the neck. Find what would feel appropriate. Find what would feel good on your low back, so that the low back is not speaking up too much. Again, we're looking for a gentle, persistent pressure, an opening that is gentle. On a scale of 1 to 10, find your 6. What this is doing is this in particular is going to balance all of that forward collapsing that we do when we are sitting. So we're giving the low back a little bit of structure. We're opening through the chest. The shoulders are allowed to sink back, to open up. The neck is long. So in this position, take a deep breath, really fill the lungs, and then soften your body. Let yourself sink into this posture. Breathe into it. One breath into the next. Noticing how this feels. Maybe closing the eyes or allowing the gaze to be soft and unfocused. Listening to the body. Watching and observing without judgment. Give yourself permission to coexist. Whatever's coming up, whatever you're noticing and feeling, those sensations. And take one final deep breath. And then supporting the knees as you close the knees. Be rolling to one side, pressing yourself up. We're going to clear our mat and take one final rebound. To clear the mat, come down to your back. Feel as though the shoulders can tuck underneath the bodies, that we have a lot of space, and opening through the front side. Big breath in. Exhale it out. Your whole body sink into the earth. Feel the imprint of your body. Focusing on the exhale. Let the exhale take you deeper into stillness. Time to nourish the practice, nourish the body. Take one more deep, full breath here. And then if your body is asking for it, maybe take a full body stretch, reaching up, maybe drawing knees into the chest, curling up. And then when you're ready, rolling yourself to one side, pressing yourself up and into a comfortable seat. When you find that seat, you can close your eyes. Maybe allow the spine to grow a little bit longer, the shoulders to sink away from the ears. Thank you all so much for joining me for today's practice. Moment of gratitude. I'm grateful for all of you for sharing this space with me. you have any questions or comments, drop it below, and I will see you all next week. Namaste.